know what your product stands for and what problem you solve, and you all need to know who your target customers is, because if you know that, you also know what's important for them and what problems they are facing. So I think once you do the homework, which is not easy, and it's not something I can put in a 2-minute podcast interview answer, but I think doing the homework is important. And then secondly, just to be useful on top of that. So if you know, if your mindset is to be useful and helpful, and if you know who you're targeting and what the problems are, then I think differentiation is not super hard.
So you're a smart business committed to innovation, to service and to modern marketing, and you're asking, what's next? Wondering how you can become even more innovative. My name is Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and this is the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Hi there, innovator. It's great to be back with another episode. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. I hope you enjoyed our most recent interviews too, with Rob Brayman of Cogent Analytics and Alicia and James Crook of Massage Champions. I'm really excited to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast as my guest today, all the way from Tallinn in Estonia, Andrus Purde, who's the co-founder and CEO of OutFunnel, which is a SaaS product that helps you automate your email marketing based on data in your CRM system. OutFunnel are a small team that have built a sales-centric marketing tool because they were really frustrated with the kind of marketing that doesn't use data that salespeople have, and with the kind of sales that doesn't use the data that marketers have. Andrus has a long background in marketing, having worked for both Pipedrive and Skype. Today's episode is brought to you by the Transformational Marketing Hub, where you'll find a host of free and exceptionally useful information to help you transform your marketing. You can access the Transformational Marketing Hub by visiting innovabiz.co/VIP for the very important person that you are. Go check it out. If you're not a member already, it's free to join, and you'll have instant access to all the resources there. In our discussion today, Andrus talked to me about the importance of segmentation of your email list to be able to better personalize your marketing and be effective with that personalization. He told me about the key things that are important to improve email deliverability, and we talked about knowing your customer, what problem you solve, and what you and your product stand for. Without further ado, then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Andrus Purde. Hi, I'm your host, Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm really excited to welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast today from Tallinn in Estonia, Andrus Purde, who's the co-founder and the CEO of OutFunnel. Welcome to the podcast, Andrus. It's a great privilege to have you as my guest.
Hey, Jürgen, and thank you for the invite.
Ritas Loris, who was our guest on episode 180 of the InnovaBuzz podcast, suggested that we interview you, Andrus. So a big hello to Ritas.
Yeah, thank you, Ritas.
Now, OutFunnel is a sales-centric marketing automation tool that tightly integrates with modern customer relationship management systems, and I'm looking forward to learning more about how it works and how it helps bring sales and marketing more closely together, which is what you state on your landing page, I think. Now, before we start talking about all things sales, marketing, and OutFunnel, tell us a bit about your background. Give us a snapshot of how you got to where you are today and what were some of the pivotal moments on that journey.
Yeah, happy to. So I've been in marketing for 22 years now. Which something is 22 years too many, but I think I'm just getting started. And I started out working in traditional marketing, so I was marketing media and sugar confectionery, and training courses and all those sorts of things. And then I think in 2005 I realized that I had like 7 years in. I found myself doing the same things over and over again, and I thought things are more or less mature in technology. So I switched gears and kind of applied for a job at Skype, which was a rapidly growing tech company around that time. And I've been in tech, in the intersection of tech and marketing ever since. Spent some years in Skype's London office, and then got to lead Pipedrives, which is a sales CRM marketing activities for nearly 7 years. And also got involved with other startups as an advisor or consultant or an investor, and then co-founded Outfunnel just shy of a year and a half ago.
So how did Outfunnel start? Why did you make that change and start up that particular service?
So I don't have one good reason for founding Outfunnel, but I have several good reasons. So
yeah,
everything. So more and more things started to point that I should found Outfunnel. So one thing was that I saw a clear need in the market. As Pipedrives head of marketing, I saw small businesses really love the software, but they were struggling putting marketing workflows in place which would run parallel in harmony with the sales data and sales workflows. So clear market need was one thing. Secondly, I think Pipedrive had grown to a size where I was still enjoying the job, but I also was conscious of the fact that I enjoyed it more back in the earlier days when Pipedrive was smaller. So I wanted to work in a smaller and more nimble team. And thirdly, I had been a marketer all my life, or all my adult life at least. And then I thought maybe it's time to change gears and try to be an entrepreneur. And here I am.
Okay. So, yeah, I like that. It's always interesting to hear where people have identified a need and a gap in the market and then take that need and turn it into a product to serve the need, which is always a great place to start. Often it's people have good ideas and they don't have that connection to market. So what can Outfunnel do for you then?
So Outfunnel can help to bring sales and marketing functions and teams closer together, which is not important or relevant to everyone. I think around 20 to 25% of small businesses global in the world have both a marketing function, maybe a person, maybe just half a person, maybe a team, and then a sales function running alongside. These may be consulting businesses, media companies, agencies, real estate companies, etc. Everybody else is not concerned with sales and marketing tools and data working together. But I think the companies who do have that need, the 20 to 25%, it's in their best interest to make sure that sales data provides useful inputs to marketing workflows and vice versa. So what Outfunnel does is for this specific type of companies, we make it super easy to integrate sales and marketing very tightly, to make sure that if you send out email campaigns, that you never send it to somebody who already has purchased recently, or when people engage with your emails or a website, that information gets carried back to the sales team.
Okay. So can you give us a specific example of how that might work? I mean, you mentioned that the one where if you're promoting a product and you don't continue to send marketing material to the people that have already purchased that product, but is it more complex than that? Is there more to it than that?
I think it's infinitely more complex than that, but I think that's a good basic example of usually companies struggle even keeping one database up to date. So let's say it's in a sales centered company, usually CRM is the one database which is reasonably well up to date. But oftentimes, marketers use a separate database alongside that, which is maybe for email marketing or other purposes. And you really want to use only one data source. So the sales database as the single source of truth for all marketing campaigns. And you also want to make sure that that if people engage with marketing, like if they click on emails, open emails, if they come to the website, that information, which is really useful for salespeople to plan their activities, is then carried and then shown back in the sales tool, back in the CRM. Did this give you a better idea?
Yeah, more or less. One of the things I'm curious about is how is Outfunnel combined with something like Pipedrive? How's that different to one of the big CRMs that are around, something like Infusionsoft?
That's a good question. In fact, I think it's a stupid idea to build a marketing tool in 2018 when we started building it, because there are so many marketing tools, and many of them are very, very good. Like Infusionsoft is a good tool, Mailchimp, and there's many other tools which do the job very well. But the thing is, the bigger a tool gets, two things tend to happen. One is the cost increases, and that's a factor for many small businesses. But maybe even more importantly, the complexity of the tool increases. So Salesforce, for example, is a great tool. I mean, it has a marketing platform, it has a full sales and data management platform, but you need a full-time person or a team to manage Salesforce, and small businesses can't really afford to have somebody dedicated to just data management. So what we do is we provide the features which make the most which have the biggest impact on company sales and marketing results, and we reduce the complexity of accessing these features, and we also offer these at a very reasonable price, we think.
Okay, so how would you describe your ideal customer then?
It's somebody like I said, it's companies who have a sales function and a marketing function. It's anywhere from one 2-person shops to 25, 50 employees, and usually these are companies who have a sales and marketing function working in parallel, or companies who sell something which is of higher value than say retail level goods. So it's companies selling consulting services, real estate, manufacturing, etc. So it's B2B mostly.
Okay, all right. One of the things, switching gears a little bit here, one of the things that I'm interested in is around keeping marketing very personal at a human-to-human interaction level. And today, with all the technology that's available and the wonderful tools that are out there, people tend to use the technology almost exclusively and forget about having that personal level. What are your thoughts on that?
I think so. So personalization is definitely important, and it's also a bit of a commodity these days. To the point where I think it's such an easy to it's so easy to create a superficial level of personalization that sometimes it's borderline annoying. Like sometimes you receive these cold emails. Clearly, it's a cold email. They've cleverly or semi-cleverly added one quote unquote personalized element in there, and you can just see a mile off that it's not really personalized. So I think there's a balance which all companies need to find of making sure that when they truly do the homework and then they want to win over a prospect's trust, or they want to get the attention of somebody, that they put in the work, and then that shows in the marketing communication, both in one-on-one and one-to-many communication. But I think there's a way to overdo it, just to make these email messages slightly annoying with these superficially personalized messages. I think while personalization is very important and it's also proven to be highly effective, I think there's a good reason to also apply common sense and not to personalize everything. Especially, I think after the big privacy scandals we've had recently. So you want to maybe find a good balance of where you personalize and where you don't.
Yeah. I guess to me, the level of personalization in terms of automating, let's say, dear Andres, rather than just a generic email. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. But you're right, that's superficial and can be overdone. The next level of personalization to me is the example you gave earlier. So if I've purchased something from a website, then I don't expect to get another email from them offering me that product again, unless, of course, it's a commodity.
Yeah.
And also another level of personalization to me then is if they've asked me at some point of the interaction early going in what my interests are, that the communication after that does reflect what my interests are, particularly if there's kind of a whole range of different things that they're offering or that they sell.
Yeah, which I think is that's I think a good example or good examples of healthy level of personalization. But I think we've all seen also the superficial level of personalization where you visit the company's website, maybe as a customer, and then the banners will retarget you forever. So yeah, the web content you see later is quote unquote personalized, but it's just annoying. So I think that's another way where marketers should really use their common sense and for once, maybe every now and then forget the funnels that they're working with and just be conscious of the fact that behind every funnel there's real human beings who have a
That's
real
right.
relationship
Well,
with your product service, and then you should treat them as people, not as funnels.
yeah, that's right. Well, that's essentially the message that I'm promoting, so that whilst the technology is fabulous and can help do a whole lot of things, treat people as people. And it's good to reflect back on, well, putting yourself in the position of the receiver of the emails or the receiver of the marketing, and how you feel with the different approaches.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes the best thing a marketer can do to promote the product or service is to not send out that email or to not send out that banner message or Facebook ad. Yeah, just by being very diligent in segmenting and understanding. So having all the data in one system is a good start, and then being very clear about who should receive what message and who should not receive what message. I think not enough has been spoken and done, I think, in that realm. And most marketers are just concerned with sending more messages to more people more frequently, which is not always the best way ahead.
Yeah, that's a great point around the segmentation. And so does Outfunnel do segmentation, or does it take it from Pipedrive or MailChimp or whatever is integrated with?
Yeah, we currently don't offer a kind of database management or segmentation feature ourselves, but we play well with the segmentation which already exists in the CRM in Pipedrive, for instance. And also, so we combine the data from both the CRM and the email and marketing activities, and then make the data accessible for segmentation. And then you can use our tool to then make sure that the right segments receive the right message. But of course, Outfunnel isn't the only tool that lets you do that. And I'm not advocating for Outfunnel in particular, but I think is best practice though is just to make sure that every company uses as much data as possible to do the segmentation and to make sure that there's no over communicating to certain segments.
Yeah, that's a really important message. I absolutely agree with that. Now, so does Outfunnel just manage the data, or does it send emails, or are you reliant on your CRM to send out the emails?
So Outfunnel is a marketing tool in itself. So we do have an email functionality, which is just launching as we speak, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have an integration with other email platforms if there's certain use cases that we can't cater ourselves.
Mm-hmm. All right. So one of the questions for you then around email is the question of deliverability. I mean, that's one of the challenges often with these email automation systems or with many of the CRMs, and partly it comes back to what we've just been talking about in terms of segmentation and making sure you're not just blasting emails out to the entire list for the sake of doing that, because that the email services tend to look unfavorably on that. But what kind of things have you got in place in terms of dealing with deliverability and looking at the statistics around bounces and unsubscribes, for example?
Mm-hmm. So talking about deliverability can get very technical very fast. So I'm gonna try to refrain myself from going into too deep. I think there's things that every company, no matter what email platform or email tool they use, can do to improve their deliverability. First, and that's almost too obvious to say on this podcast, is to get consent. Is to like I said earlier. Often marketers think that more messages to more people is the right answer, but really it's not. And just buying or scraping lists and writing cold emails, that's no matter what email tools you use, you will still suffer from deliverability problems if you do that, because people rightly tend to mark these as spam, and then each subsequent campaign will be harder and harder to send. So instead of, I think, and in a perfect world, there would be no cold email. And unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. So I think I think you can still put thought and effort into cold emails to make sure that you don't send the campaigns to every single email address you find on the internet, but you only send it to the most relevant one, back to the segmentation and back to making sure that the right people receive your messages. And then I think there's also things you can do around making the email creative and putting some really effort into making sure that the emails leave a favorable impression of you, and the people have a way to opt out of the email sequences if they want to. I think this is what every email marketer should do, no matter what tools they use or what they sell.
Yeah. Well, that's really good advice. I mean, I'm a little puzzled that these days people are still scraping emails and buying emails, but I guess there's the spam emails that I get every day in my mailbox. They must come from somewhere, so that's probably where they come from. The idea of sending cold emails, that's something that I would certainly not recommend doing through a system at the early stages. I mean, if there's a cold email, to me, a cold email is, I've found somebody in the internet, I might have read their book, I might be interested in having them on the podcast, so I will then go and find some information on them and maybe connect with them either through their website, or it might be a cold email, but it'll be a very personal one-on-one email. And if I want them on my list, I'll invite them to go and visit my website and give them the choice to subscribe. So that's the approach that I'd be doing. And then your advice around making it easy to unsubscribe is very important, I think.
Yeah, and I think both of us, we have the luxury to really put in the research, and we don't need to close 20 deals every week. So we don't need to send out. We didn't need to connect with 50 new people every week. Salespeople really have to do that, and then for them, cold email is a very cheap and a very effective tool to get new leads. But I think that to complement that, or maybe to replace some of that, companies can put some effort into thinking put some thought into why why would people want to receive emails from me? Maybe it's great content, maybe it's unique points of view, maybe it's something which is creative or entertaining. And there are many companies that do that at really kind of enjoyable quality. But yeah, I wish more companies would do that.
Yeah, that's an important message, I think, that which is provide value in, even in emails that you send out, cold emails.
Yeah, it's really, I think, the give before you get mentality. At cold emails is more about the get. So I need to sell you something, and then please, I need your attention right now, because then I can tell you something. But if with a give before you get mentality, you can balance it out and say, all right, so yes, I'm going to take some of your attention to consume my email, or maybe even schedule a demo with me. But before that, I'm just going to give you some value. I'm going to give you a unique insight about your company or your industry or your competitor, which you haven't seen elsewhere. Or maybe I just entertain you. And that's something that as a receiver of lots of cold emails, I don't see enough of that.
Yeah, and the other part of it, of course, is that emails tend to be an interruption from whatever it is we're spending our time on currently. So if there's no value in the email, it doesn't get received very well. Certainly, I don't receive them very well. All right, so with Outfunnel, then, what are you doing to attract more leads and kind of grow in a predictable way?
That's a question I don't unfortunately have a crystal clear answer for yet, because we are a relatively new company. We've been around for a year and a half. We've been out with the product for a year. But we do practice what I've just preached. So I've put a lot of effort into making our content useful. And even if you don't use our product, I think the content we have produced on our blog is helpful for small businesses who have a sales function and marketing function, and who want to align the workflows and data flows. So that's one quote unquote channel that's worked for us thus far, and where we plan to invest more. Then the product itself is a great channel, if you will. So we're seeing some companies finding us from word of mouth already, and there's also if you're running a marketing tool, then you can also make part of the product your channel. So we can make part of the product free, or develop custom features which kind of create awareness around the product. For instance, if you in email marketing, it's easy to use the footer of emails as a way to build awareness, or unsubscribe pages or lead pages, etc. So I think there's ways which we can use as a marketing product, which other products can't necessarily use. So if you're building an information security product, then you don't have the same ways to make the product viral, or grow awareness of the product.
Yeah, I like how you're using the blog also to describe case studies of clients that have, for example, how freelancers and solo entrepreneurs can get more leads in a predictable, automated way. So you talk about Happy Desk there.
Yeah. So I think case studies is a good way to make your message and make your product relatable to a segment which is very specific. And I think with case studies is maybe useful for some of the listeners is in the early days we didn't have customers who had long enough experience with us to be featured in a case study. So then we also did case studies with customers who had a similar problem, that our product could have solved, but who weren't necessarily our customers yet. So if you look at the blog, we've also written up case studies of companies who just have a sales function and marketing function, and who have made good progress in linking these two functions up, who are not outbound customers, but I think talking about what they've done and what they haven't done and what tools they use is useful information, even if we don't feature out funnel in these blog posts. So that's one thing I think which any company can do, is to not just write case studies of their own customers, but also write case studies of customers of other products.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And also it comes back to what you were saying earlier about giving before you're getting, so that you're providing some information that ought to be useful to that target market.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what's the future for Outfunnel then? What are your plans going ahead? Being a fairly new business.
So as a company who has, like a year ago, we had 0 paying customers. Then I think in the summer of last year, in July, we had 10 paying customers. Now we've passed 100 paying customers. So the next milestone we are aiming for is 1,000 paying customers.
Yeah.
Which looks doable, and luckily not too easily doable, but also not completely impossible. And then the next milestone after that is getting to 10,000 customers. So I think that'd be a nice next milestone, is to be able to help 10,000 companies align their sales and marketing. And what this means is, of course, we need to grow the team. We need to make a useful product and make it better continuously, and then make sure that things don't fall apart as we accelerate.
Yeah, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges right now in terms of that growth that you're talking about?
So as a new company, I think everything is a challenge. So I think it's hard to hire good people in a competitive marketing tool landscape. It's hard to stand out from the noise. All the kind of channels are saturated and getting increasingly expensive. So I think it's just having a plan and solving one thing at a time is our strategy. And the problems I think that we will face, there's been so many already, and I can see that the number of them is not going to decrease. So the trick is then just to have resilience, and then get very good at solving problems. I think that's our plan. I didn't quite answer your question, but I think also I think my answer reflects more how I think about building a company.
Yeah. So you talked about people. Are you all in one location, or do you have people spread out around the globe?
Yeah, we currently have customers spread out all over the globe, but everybody in the team is currently in one location, which is a nice change from my all my previous work experiences, where I work with global teams on 2 or 3 different continents, and that's sometimes a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I think we're currently enjoying the luxury of all working in the same office. But I also foresee the fact that we need to create a semi-remote or remote flexible work culture in the future. Because I mean, although Estonia is a great country, we just don't have all the talent we need here. So we probably need to internationalize rather soon.
Yeah, and also with a global customer base and the customer support requirements that brings with it, it may require you to cross different time zones as well, which is an issue, I imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the good news and bad news is that there's increasingly. Does it also to people who talk about the flat Earth? Is it also in the news in Australia?
Not recently. I haven't seen any recently.
Yeah, but I think last year there was a bit of flat Earth supporters in the media, and unfortunately they're not right. World is still around, and then time zones to come across. And if you have to support customers in both Europe and Australia and US, then you either have to wake up very early and go to bed very late, or you have to just work internationally. And we are doing the former at the moment, but we're preparing for the latter.
Yeah. All right. Now, the other thing you mentioned also is about standing out from the noise. So what are some of the things you're doing to stand out from the noise? Because I think that's a pretty general challenge for any business.
Yeah, and I think so. The best advice here is to, first, of course, you need to know what your product stands for and what problem you solve, and you need to know who your target customers is, because if you know that, you also know what's important for them and what problems they are facing. So I think once you do the homework, which is not easy, and it's not something I can put in a 2-minute podcast interview answer, but I think doing the homework is important. And then secondly, just to be useful on top of that. So if you know, if your mindset is to be useful and helpful, and if you know who you're targeting and what the problems are, then I think differentiation is not super hard on top of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned a couple of times about adding value and being valuable in what you provide through the emails. So being useful and helpful definitely is consistent with that, and being really clear about knowing your customers and knowing what problem you solve for them. So that's great advice. Okay, well, thanks for giving us that insight into Outfunnel, what you do, and what where you're headed with relatively new business. So I think it's time we moved on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help the audience who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field with some tips from your experience. So I'm asking 25. I'm thinking 25 years of marketing experience. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and hopefully you'll give us some really insightful answers based on that experience. That'll inspire the listener to go and do something awesome today.
Sounds good.
So what's the number one thing you think anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
I think there's 2 slightly conflicting things. One is to stay curious as a mindset, and always talk to people in the same field, talk to people in the other fields. I read up or listen to podcasts, read books, etc. So I think getting new information aboard is super important. But alongside that, and slightly conflicting with that, it's also to take breaks and let the information settle and create new connections. Whether it means taking a shower, taking a walk, taking regular holidays or vacations. I think the combination of these 2 things, that works for me anyway.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think it really is important to kind of take a break, whether that's a holiday or just a short break, as you said, because I find a lot of my ideas come in those moments too. So what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
It's talking to people in my target audience. This is something I've done in any and every company I've worked with in longer capacity. So for example, even before starting to write the line of code for Outfunnel, I spoke to more than 100 people who were in the in the B2B sales and marketing area, people in my target audience, and just spoke about the problems and ways how they solve it currently. And that really gave me first the confidence to start building Outfunnel, but also dozens of new feature ideas, dozens of new ideas for content we could produce. So I think that's something that's invaluable to people in any stage of the business and any type of business.
Yeah, that's great advice. Talk to your target audience, and then, like you said earlier, knowing what problem you solve for them and knowing what their needs are helps develop those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have one resource you use most often?
So that's, I think, yeah, Evernote is my favorite app. So I have for all the important sides of my life, whether it's building a team at Hot Funnel or renovating my house or feature ideas for Hot Funnel. I have an Evernote document for each, and I have some device with Evernote always handy, and I think making sure that I can get things out of my head and then I have access to them later is just a good way to make sure that the nuggets of information that pop up won't get lost.
Okay. All right. Well, Evernote's a great tool and it's been around for a long time. So, but I think, as you say, the important thing is really keeping track of the information or ideas that one has. It's
yeah,
good.
I think, and actually, I think Evernote is not. I don't love it as much as I used to. I think it's gotten slightly clunky, so I'm considering maybe changing it. But I think no matter what tool you use, having this kind of split note-taking app is critical.
Yes, I'm starting to get a bit tired of Evernote, but yeah, the important thing is getting the notes and being able to follow up on the information that you're keeping track of. Okay, well, what's the best way to keep a project on track?
I think the obvious answer would be to communicate and to use the proverbial blinkers to make sure that people who are involved know what's happening and what should be happening. But I think the second approach is to if projects usually fall apart for a reason. I think the longer term answer to making sure that things don't fall apart is to be mindful of these reasons and to learn from the mistakes. This would mean that making retrospectives after things end, understanding why things happen, asking why and the why behind the why after things come to conclusion. So I think that's how I make sure that future products and projects get failure proof.
So do a bit of a post-mortem on the project once it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's a good approach. And what's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
As a marketer, I really like differentiation, but I think not every person needs to differentiate. So if you look back in history, some of the great artists or entrepreneurs didn't really consciously differentiate, but just their craft differentiated themselves in the end. It wasn't the conscious process of like, this is how I'm going to differentiate. Differentiation came as a result of them being curious and really getting really great at their craft. So I think while differentiation is important, and in some areas it's critical, I think the more universal answer is to just follow your curiosity and always improve your craft.
Okay, that's an interesting approach to it. But yes, I agree that the really honing your craft and being exceptionally good at it in the way you can is by default almost differentiation. All right. Well, thank you, Andrus. This has been really great. I've loved finding out some more about Outfunnel and your insights into marketing and using the data and personalization. So where can people find out more about Outfunnel and learn more about what it does and perhaps even get in touch with you to say thank you for what you've shared with us today?
The best place to come check out the product and our blog is outfunnel.com. And I also have a personal blog alongside that, which is purdy.net, Purd.net. That's where I've been blogging on marketing and growing technology brands and other brands for more than, I think, 10 years. So there's some good content there as well.
Okay, excellent. So I'll have a link to both of those sites in the show notes and people can read some more. Now, what's the number one piece of advice you'd give to any business owner who wants to be a leader in innovation and in their field?
I would say to pick your battles, because whether as a human being or as a business, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So being mindful of what battles you pick and why you pick them, I think that's the best. That's the best way. That's the best way to win.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It comes back to focusing your energy and efforts on what's important, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, finally, then, who would you like me to interview on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, and why?
I would recommend Andrew Michaels, who's a marketer over at Hotjar, which is a very nice marketing tool. And he's also a bit of a philosophist in the topic of churn or companies, customers leaving companies, and then how to retain customers. As a new podcaster on that, so I think he would be a good guest to interview.
Okay, excellent. Well, we'll get an introduction from you to Andrew, and Hotjar is something that I really enjoy using and gives really useful insights into what's going on your website, what people are doing on your website. So I look forward to that. Okay, well, thanks, Andrus. I've really enjoyed speaking with you today, and you've been so generous with your time. So thanks a lot for that. I wish you all the best for the future and for Outfunnel's future, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you, Jürgen, for having a great podcast and for inviting me along as well.
Thanks. I do hope you enjoyed that thoughtful and insightful conversation with Andrus and took something away from what he shared with us. My highlights were his focus on adding value to your audience, always giving first as a mentality for the emails you send and the other information you publish. That's the key first step in establishing trust. I'd love to know what you took away from Andrus' interview. Leave a comment below the blog post, which you can find at innovabiz.co/outfunnel. That is OUTFUNNEL. All lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/outfunnel. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with Andrus there, as well as links to the Outfunnel website, his personal website, and the other resources we spoke about in the conversation. Andrus suggested we interview Andrew Michael of Hotjar and Churn FM on a future InnovaBuzz podcast. So, Andrew, keep an eye on your inbox for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Andrus Purde. Remember to visit innovabiz.co/VIP to access the Transformational Marketing Hub and all its free and exceptionally useful information to help you transform your marketing. Also, check out our Tales of Marketing Transformation show at talesofmarketingtransformation.com, where each episode will provide one valuable message to guide you on your journey of marketing transformation. And, of course, tune in again next week to the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we've got more fantastic guests lined up, including Gigi Rosenberg, speaking coach, and Steve August of August and Wonder. Stay connected. Subscribe to the InnovaBuzz podcast so you'll make sure you'll never miss another episode. Head on over to innovabiz.co/subscribe. We'd also love you to leave us a review, because what you think matters to us. Take some of the ideas you've heard today and apply them in your business. Any thoughts, ideas, suggestions or questions, then share them in the comments below the blog post. And remember, if you want to get better marketing results than you ever have, join our fantastic Facebook community at the Tales of Marketing Transformation Facebook group. All you have to do is go to innovabiz.co/TMA. It's free to join. I hope to see you there soon. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBizz. Remember to be awesome and keep innovating.